website created by some conservative activists, and one of the websites is called Expose Charlie's Murderers. As of this morning, the site does not appear to be active anymore, but on Saturday the front page said it had received nearly 30,000 submissions of posts. Organizers said they wanted to out people who are calling for violence with the hope that
Amelia, we are in a public place. I've asked you politely to leave. I no longer wish to engage in this interaction. Please leave my table.
Thank you, dear.
Okay.
And you're not a real lawyer.
Have a nice night.
She looks like a monster. Some have said a Tim Burton villain, right?
Dallas, I've asked you to leave.
I've asked you to stop saying things.
I'm in a public place, Dallas.
Are you?
I'm in a public place. I've asked you to leave. Excuse me.
So who is this woman, you're wondering? This happens to be Dallas Brody. Now, Dallas Brody was elected into a party called the BC Conservatives, and then she got kicked out of her party for being too racist and extreme. And she, like most people, probably would have been at that moment like, hey, by the way, I'm done. I'm out. Politics is just not for me. They're not down with my whole residential school denialism shit, and I have bigger callings. I want to be a filmmaker. I want to be a star. But then instead of doing that, she was like, you know what? No. I'm going to start a new political party. So she did, and she called it 1BC. And 1BC is known for just a few things. One, they really hate trans kids. They hate mostly all things LGBTQ+. They want to make sure that there's no education for not bullying LGBTQ+ kids in schools, that kind of stuff. They really, really hate Indigenous people, and they think that there's a Indigenous industrial complex trying to take away the earnings and homes of white people. So essentially, there's this really well-funded, super powerful, like it's the same way they talk about basically trans ideology, right? Like for trans ideology, it's that there's this huge, institution of gender ideology that's trying to force kids to become trans to make more money for doctors in the hospitals, which doesn't make as much sense in the public healthcare system. But still, that's pretty much the conspiracy theory there. For Indigenous folk, they think that Indigenous people are faking all of their genocide and torture and years of sexual and physical abuse in order to gain sympathy from basically cowardly liberal white people who are then feeling all this white guilt, and because they feel so much white guilt, they're like, oh well, here's money, I have to get rid of my white guilt. So you get all the money and you can have all the properties, you also get all the homes, and that's basically what they've been spending a lot of time promoting. And so that was her, and that was her party. She basically teamed up with another super transphobic woman called Tara Armstrong, and the two of them formed 1BC, the white supremacist party. And you'll never believe it, but over the weekend she got kicked out of the party that she founded, and the party of Nazis, the white supremacists, have completely dissolved and fallen apart. And I wish this would be a lesson for me to be able to tell everybody, hey, by the way, there was a white supremacist party that became really popular and really famous, and I got a strategy for how to get rid of them and how to take the Nazis down. And this is a learning lesson for everybody everywhere. It doesn't matter where you live, what city or town. If a Nazi party forms, here's how you take it down. And unfortunately, the answer here would be let them fight. They fought. And they destroyed themselves and cannibalized themselves, and they fought so much that they actually fell apart. The inner workings of what happened is actually pretty wild. So she founded this white supremacist party, Dallas Brody, and they actually just recently brought in an actual Nazi into the party as a staffer, and she didn't want the actual Nazi to be in the party, because it turns out Dallas Brody, while she does hate Indigenous people, is super racist towards Indigenous people, she's also a Zionist and a very strong supporter of Israel, and she's bought into the Zionist definition of anti-Semitism, in that if you criticize Israel, you are also criticizing all Jewish people. And as a result of that, they actually allowed someone into the party who's an actual Nazi who hates Jewish people because he hates all Jewish people. So once again, basically the TLDR is like, what if you let Nick Fuentes into your white supremacist political party? There'd probably be a lot of people who are like, oh, awesome. He's got a lot of followers. We got the Groypers on board, America First. Nick Fuentes is a part of this now. We're now more powerful. But there's probably going to be some people in there, if they happen to be Jewish, for example, who are going to be like, yikes. He's an actual Nazi. We can't actually make a party with that guy inside of it. It'll be bad. It'll be bad for everybody. And it turns out that caused a lot of fighting. So this was just a couple days ago. Yes, we are experiencing a little turbulence, but the plane is still flying, and we will be beautiful, calm skies shortly. Press on, 1BC, with the new website. Strange, because normally it was 1bc.ca. Now it's the number 1 and bc.ca. Weird, but nothing to think about. Now, this basically human eraser, Wyatt Claypool, says, we are staying on target. No one can force 1BC to stop pursuing its mission. Thank you for standing strong with moral integrity. Dallas Brody, I'm honored to be on your team. He joined right when the entire thing fell apart. So Dallas Brody, she starts her own party, 1BC. 1BC then takes hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayer funds, of which the taxpayers didn't know. They didn't know that this money was going to go towards it, to film an anti-genocide residential school denialism documentary. And then she releases that residential school denialism documentary on YouTube and spends a bunch of taxpayer money on advertising a residential school denial documentary on YouTube. So you actually start seeing ads. So none of the people in her constituency know that their money and all the funding that they put into this party are going towards her documentary film dreams. So much like a James O'Keefe, for example, who basically is like, yes, Project Veritas will uncover the truth about the liberal woke mind virus. Give me lots of money. And then he took lots of money, and then some of it he used for his own dreams, because it turns out James O'Keefe was the theater kid who had dreams and aspirations. He wanted to be a star, don't you see? He was big into singing Oklahoma, and so he wanted to play Coachella, stuff like that. And so people found out eventually, and he got kicked out of his own company. He no longer does Project Veritas because they were like, you're wasting all of your money on these fucking weird ass musicals and music videos that you're making. This is kind of similar to that. The only difference is that her residential school denial documentary actually got pretty popular thanks to people like Rob Schneider. I know, just what is this timeline? Rob Schneider's involved in the story, but Rob Schneider was tweeting it out on Twitter being like, what happened to Canada? Oh, the whole thing is a scam, blah, blah, blah. I can't believe like all these native people are stealing white folks, blah, 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 shit like that. And then Elon Musk, unfortunately, also ended up retweeting the residential school denial documentary, and they pushed it and pumped it and made it actually a pretty big phenomenon. So at that time, 1BC actually felt like they were about to make like history. They were the first white supremacist party of Canada that was actually getting international recognition. They were blowing up this whole kind of like, oh, it turns out that residential schools thing was a lie, and all these people are just lying about all the sexual and physical abuse they were experiencing, and Canada's beholden. They're actually cucked in this way to the entire residential school industry in order to take white people's property away. All of this was gaining a lot of success right before the Nazis collapsed, which, I mean, good timing to say the least. If you want an example of what she was like actually when she was an active politician, this is kind of how she acted inside of the actual sessions.
The Premier has repeatedly referred to me as being racist, denialist, and hateful. Am I now allowed to use words like stupid, incompetent, financially illiterate, anarchist? I mean, how far does this go? Are you the speaker suddenly? Are you the speaker?
Member,
Are you the speaker?
member, leader.
So it's been chaos, by the way. It's been absolute chaos because there's mostly a lot of normal politicians who are just trying to actually do, politics, pass bills, and govern. And then she obviously gets as much floor time as any other elected politician. And so she's used it mostly for either attacking trans kids or attacking Indigenous people and doing it over and over and over. Sitting behind her is Tara Armstrong, her other partner, and also pretty well-known transphobe. So they haven't passed any bills, but they've proposed so many bills. Like, we need to get rid of Truth and Reconciliation Day. We need to remove, Canada's commitments to, the UNRWA, the UN Convention on Indigenous People, UNDRIP. We need to stop that. We need to stop, teaching about the residential school system in schools. She'll like bring all these bills up, and then the majority of people in the room are like, you're a racist. This is just weird racist shit. Why are we doing this? Like, what a waste of time. No, we're not going to vote on your bill. Even the conservatives, who are pretty right-wing, they're like, no, we're not voting for your fucking weird-ass racist bills. She's also into re-immigration, which is a really big one in the UK right now. Tommy Robinson, all that kind of shit. So you can see what kind of chaos she was bringing to a daily session. But what's funny is that, like, the right loved all this, and not just the right in Canada, the right internationally. I saw clips of her appearing by right-wing accounts in the US, in the UK, in South and Central America. People were just posting this stuff being like, whoa, someone's finally telling the truth. Someone's finally calling out the trans agenda. Holy shit. I didn't know that like politics in Canada were so based. We finally have this like, noble Aryan queen who's trying to take them all down. So 1BC, her own party that she founded, released this statement, and it's pretty damning. On Saturday, December 13th, the 1BC Board of Directors ratified a special resolution removing Dallas Brody as the leader of 1BC. Tara Armstrong, House Leader of 1BC and MLA for Kelowna, Lake County Coldstream, said, "I have lost confidence in the leadership of Dallas Brody." MLA Armstrong intends to inform the Speaker of the House that she is no longer caucusing with Dallas Brody in the BC Legislature. Armstrong's loss of confidence comes in light of Brody's increasing instability, paranoia, erratic behavior, and abusive conduct. Yeah, apparently she was unstable, paranoid, erratic. Now, I've been saying this for a long time. But a lot of people, when you say these kind of things, are like, hey, whoa, stop trying to be sexist or demeaning to her. She's a politician like anyone else. And it's like, well, she just seems like a racist. I mean, she seems like a professional racist. Apparently, she never used to be this racist back in the day, by the way. For anyone who doesn't know, Dallas Brody, she's like this rich heir to a bunch of like property barons, super privileged, has tons and tons of money, tons of property. She's going to be fine. If she's not a racist politician, she's a landlord. So don't worry, she's got lots of money and she'll be okay. Ms. Brody has frequently yelled at employees, used abusive language, and severed communications with senior staff and caucus for extended periods of time. This erratic behavior culminated in Ms. Brody terminating senior staff members without prior notice and explanation to the caucus, and then attempting to access the copy party assets, communication software, and databases without authorization. So she was doing a digital coup behind the scenes. During the final weeks of the BC Legislature's fall session, Ms. Brody had a major outburst towards staff members and caucus offices. She yelled, used abusive language, demanded termination of multiple employees. Senior staff members met with Ms. Brody to address concerns regarding her pattern of unprofessional and unstable conduct and requested that she refrain from such behavior in the future. Stop trying to tear down our entire systems. It seems really bad. She was super evil, apparently. After senior staff and caucus colleagues, MLA Armstrong raised concerns of her behavior, Ms. Brody severed communications and refused to respond to senior staff or MLA Armstrong for nearly a week, despite multiple urgent requests to discuss pressing matters. Ms. Brody, as leader, has refused to return communications to senior members of her team for extended periods of time on multiple occasions before these events. On the Monday of Friday, December 12th, after multiple days of refusing to respond to her request for discussions, MLA Armstrong, Ms. Brody, unilaterally terminated 1BC Chief of Staff Tim Thielman and Director of the Strategic Operation Paul Ratchford in their positions. Now, you don't need to know who all these people are or all this drama behind the scenes. It does sound like basically there's multiple coups going on. So the founder of the party, Dallas Brody, was behind the scenes apparently becoming unstable, erratic, trying to copy all of their files, copy all of their information off the computers while simultaneously screaming and firing people. All this was happening behind the scenes, allegedly, I want to add, while Dallas Brody was actually running the 1BC, accounts and trying to get people to sign up for a new email that they had. I just want to find out where that one is. Oh, do I not have that? I have so many different things. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So we saw this out of nowhere. Dallas Brody says, "We're experiencing technical difficulties with the 1BC emails. Until we get it fixed, please contact us at this email." This is the new home for 1BC, y'all. Basically, she tried to keep the party and be like, 1BC is now on a new website. Here's the new URL and the new email. Don't know what's going on with the other stuff and the other socials. Glitches, but stay on board with the white supremacist party. I got you. We're all good. Just make sure you use the proper email. Meanwhile, the actual party was like, we're going to kick you out. So she tried to basically, I think, siphon as many people as she could before she got kicked out of the party. Now, this all happens as the white supremacist weirdo Wyatt Claypool, and I'll just show you what he looks like so all of you understand what the master race is working with here. This is Wyatt. He's a very prominent far-right pundit in Canada. Probably don't know of him outside of Canada because he hasn't really raised his profile in the way some other Canadian right-wing figures have, but he got brought on to the team and is a Team Dallas. He does not like Team Armstrong, so when the Nazi split happens, he's like, wait, no, I'm with her, and he's been fighting everyone along the way. No! Dallas Brody was being undermined and bullied for months, and finally stood up against it, and then in retaliation, those responsible for the toxicity blew up the party, proving how toxic they are. Everyone's a bully. Feel bad for us. I'm not surprised you don't care. I helped stand up for you when you were being harassed. Wyatt, don't even argue. These clowns are digging their own grave here. The insanity the party has been sending me since yesterday has a real middle school cheerleading team vibe. It's clear that whatever putative shortcomings, 1BC is bereft of communications talent. It's funny to see how I can ratio these clowns. You didn't ratio him. I'm just give it some time. This was 19 hours ago, but in time, perhaps he will ratio him, so we'll see. So what now, Wyatt? Dallas and the team are moving forward with the mission she first set out on. So believe in Dallas. The story contained in the statement was something I was present for. Tim Thielman allowed for communication staffer Othman Mekloufi to badger Dallas during a stressful day. This name will become relevant, by the way. Othman Mekloufi is the white supremacist in question who joined the party, who is a actual blood and soil type. You know, the ones who are very, very, very open about their Nazi beliefs. They basically let a Nazi into their party, an overt Nazi, right? Not someone who has masks or dog whistles or any of that kind of stuff. And then once the Nazi was in the party, there were some people who were obviously like, I don't know, you know, I'm all on board with us going after trans kids. I'm all on board with us saying that indigenous people are lying about their own genocide, that the residential school system wasn't bad, the thousands of testimonies of people who were sexually abused and physically abused by the church were all liars. I'm fine with all that. I just don't want the blood and soil guy to be in the party. Because he overtly talks about his hatred of like Jewish people and how he wants to exterminate them, and he's really, really racist. It's a bad look for us. We probably shouldn't have him in the party. And then there were a lot of other people who were like, stop cancel culturing and being a cuck and let him in, and he should be allowed to be in there. And why are you doing that? The cancel culture is really unbecoming. Wyatt says, no! Dallas Brody was being undermined and bullied for months, and finally stood up against it, and then in retaliation to those responsible for the toxicity blew up the party, proving how toxic they are. I know, I was there. I worked for basically nothing because I care about principle, not power or money. What were you? You were just being a free intern? I highly doubt that. If they had hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend on making a YouTube genocide denial documentary, they had some money to throw your way. But either way, you know, steer the sinking ship, I understand. By the way, this is him and none other than Ben Shapiro, so you know the alliances that have been formed behind the scenes, that kind of stuff. Principles matter. Ethics matter. Integrity matters. Nice principles, ethics, and integrity you got here. Be a shame if you had once hung out with Ben Shapiro. So if this is all confusing because you're like, wait, Ben Shapiro is also on the right. Ben Shapiro is also a Jewish man, and it seems like the far right are once again, they got that problem. You've opened the tent to actual Nazis, and the actual Nazis, yeah, they're on board with a lot of the same things as you. They also hate trans kids. They also hate indigenous people. They hate land back. They hate actually acknowledging indigenous genocide. All that you're going to align with on the Nazis. They hate the gays. Ooh, do they hate the gays? Not a big fan of black people. Pretty racist towards black folks. So you get all of that, right? Hate lesbians. Oh, they hate lesbians. But here's where the schism happens. Nazis also hate Jewish people. And so all of a sudden, if you're someone who is being or attempting to be, I'd say, a right-wing conservative or a far-right conservative, and at the same time, you have to acknowledge that if you allow a large tent that includes the Nick Fuentes types, the blood and soil types, those are the same people who also hate Jewish people simply for existing. So then things get a little more tricky and a little bit more complicated. Now, Tara said, I want to take a moment to speak openly and from the heart about the recent events at 1BC and the rationale behind the decision I have come to. I entered politics for one reason and one reason only, to fight for the people of British Columbia and to stand against policies. There's just so much shit. Blah, 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 blah. I'm a transphobe, basically. But then someone who worked for the party is saying and demanding this, please release me from my NDA. Please. If you release me from the NDA, I will tell you some real shit. And then I'm just like, it's so funny to hear people being like, if you release me from my NDA, I'm going to spill some tea. I think that's the exact reason why they won't release you from your NDA anytime soon. I'm just saying, I don't want to help out the far right here or right-wingers, but I'm just telling you, if you publicly are posting, I will tell you the most ruthless stuff, if only I could legally do so. So please release me from my NDA. It's most likely they're not going to release you from their NDA. So to be clear, because I know this is all a lot of people you've never heard of, none of these people will ever be able to have like professional jobs in politics again, just because of how clown shoes this all is. They're all airing their dirty Nazi laundry out in the open here. It's all profoundly embarrassing. The whole thing is collapsing in its totality, and it's just so wild to watch each one of them suddenly hit the Twitter where they've had a lot of success over the past couple months. They've become international stars. Like I said, Rob Schneider was tweeting their racist documentary out, okay? Elon Musk was retweeting their racist documentary out. They felt like superstars. A lot of them were getting so many likes. They said they were the future of politics, not only in Canada, but but around the world. They were like, we are setting the standard here. Look at that. 1 million impressions on Twitter. People love our racist shit. It's blowing off. It's popping off, I'd say even. Hey, this is the future of politics. And now they've just completely collapsed. Because again, they're collapsing, and it's for something that shouldn't be difficult. If you have a person who has joined your organization and they are a blood and soil Nazi, you kick them the fuck out the day of. This shouldn't be a debate. It shouldn't even be a thing that you have to think about, where it's just like, there's some inner turmoil, some confusing stuff happening behind the scenes, but we're handling it, all right? It's because the leader of the party, she actually has become unhinged and deranged, and we have to stop her. I've resigned my position as director of outreach for 1BC. This is the guy who's like, please let me go for my NDA so I can talk about this. I support Dallas Brody. There's a schism happening. The post where said he was announcing the 1BC team as an official communication advisor. I'm now an official communication advisor. This will have no impact on my ability to post freely on X. I do not speak for them, but I'm honored to be part of the team. Let's go. The same guy who just said, please release me from my NDA, is saying, this will not impact my ability to post freely on X. I mean, I'm guessing most of these people who are, again, the majority of the movement for the whole either separation movement in Alberta, the white nationalist movement, the ostriches, the occupation of the truckers, all that kind of stuff, all of these, they seem to have a through line, and it's mostly like small business owners, a lot of older white people, people with a lot of time on their hands, obviously, to take charge on all these, like, you know, very important causes. We got to save the ostrich farm. I'm going to camp out for weeks in front of it. We got to block the border. I'm going to bring my RV there and camp out. We got to support the truckers. I'm going to drive over to Ottawa and occupy them. I'm going to camp out. It's like, yeah, because you have a couple, I'd assume, properties that are basically generating you some income on a regular basis, or you own some small businesses. You have, you know, a couple cement companies, or maybe a carpet salesman business or something. You all seem to have enough time on your hands to also be working for this weird white supremacist movement. But it's not that. It's about taking the country back. I know. It's lecturing and belittling her at the end of a very difficult day because she didn't want him to what both I and Dallas saw as an inappropriate comment from her social media account that was 22 years old wanted to post. For context, the dude was into insane race, blood, and soil politics, and Dallas has been demanding the chief of staff fire him for a while, but Tim kept obfuscating the orders and telling Dallas she needed to be more patient, and Tim would mentor him or make excuses saying that he is young. It's not that bad. So I'm shocked to have to tell you all this, but it turns out the Wyatt Claypool, the racist, and Dallas Brody, another racist, they actually found a racist who was too racist for them. And technically, insofar as people doing the right thing, Dallas Brody, the racist, you know, residential school denialist, the transphobe, they're all transphobic, they're all racist, but there is a difference here between people who don't want to have actual full-blown Nazis in their party saying, this guy's a little too extreme. The guy who's the blood and soil type. We wanted to get rid of him, and then because we wanted to get rid of him, the rest of the party was like, no, that's woke, you can't do that, and so the whole thing collapsed in and of itself. Obviously, Rebel News is very sad because these were their superstars. Rebel News, of course, the people who brought you Lauren Southern, Gavin McInnes, Hey Americans, the Proud Boys. Yeah, that's Gavin McInnes. You can thank Rebel News and all the people they promote. They love this party. They love these women. They loved it all until it got too extreme, obviously. And, you know, she, Dallas Brody on the right, is someone who was also marching for and saying that she was starting a movement for flags in Canada, the flag movement. She said only the national flag of the country should be able to be put onto national buildings. This is, of course, to get rid of things like the rainbow flag, horrifying. The rainbow flag, the trans flag, more horrifying. Yes, the pansexual flag, I don't think they know what that is. So we're safe for now. But the other flags, just rid of all flags. No flags, no foreign flags, only the Canadian flag may fly. And then I was the one who actually showed her into the sun by pointing out that she's actually been at pro-Israel rallies with Israeli flags and giving speeches to people who were draped in Israeli flags, and because she's a Zionist as well. And that's where I think a lot of the conflict is also coming down, because, you know, it is tough to both be a white supremacist and a hyper-nationalist, but at the same time be a supporter of Israel, while saying that we can only have one flag to rule them all, but then also being at rallies where you're carrying Israeli flags. Points out the hypocrisy. I don't need to give you their summary of the events. It's probably better to use people who actually know what are happening. So here's just a quick summary. It's very short. So what happened to 1BC in the past 24 hours? Let's start with the following official statement from the party. 1BC leader Dallas Brody released Othman Bekloufi Othman McLuffy was one BC staffer that leader Dallas Brody wanted to have dismissed. There were those who disagreed with the leader. They also let him go. I'm told there was an attempt to hire McLuffy on the party side, despite a directive not to do so. So who is Othman McLuffy? Google the name. Researcher Will Stansel has uncovered alarming details of an online neo-Nazi figure known as Othman, who appears to hold a position within the White House. Othman frequently posts far-right content, including discussions about the, quote, Jewish question, race science, incel ideology, while also making threatening remarks towards political figures like Lisa Murkowski. Evidence from Othman's social media activity includes he started working at the executive office of the president as of January 21st, after previously posting from Mar-a-Lago in December. He also shared a screenshot with a Trump staffer aggressively responding to a journalist, further indicating insider access. While Othman's real identity remains unconfirmed, strong clues point to him being Canadian, likely from Vancouver, British Columbia. He's tweeted extensively about Canadian politics, referred to Canadian conservatives as we, and posted images from Vancouver inside of a scenic overlook near the University of British Columbia. He's closely associated with another neo-Nazi figure, Martin, Captive Dreamer 7, you might know as the figure that Elon Musk is constantly retweeting, quote tweeting. Actually, a lot of the far right have been using Captive Dreamer for a while. He's a full-blown Canadian neo-Nazi who lives in Langley, who is based in Vancouver and attended Trump's inauguration. Stansel's research has linked Othman to the now defunct libertarian site 71 Republic, where someone named Othman previously wrote. Additionally, his listed personal website matches a domain associated with an individual named Othman McLuffy. Stansel has saved Othman's entire social media archive and is encouraging further efforts to identify him, emphasizing that exposing his identity would be a significant public service given his apparent proximity to power. So this is something that is happening internationally, by the way. There are groypers, far-right individuals, full-blown neo-Nazis, racists, anti-Semites, etc., who are now in a lot of positions of power. You could see it was kind of weird, right, when Ron DeSantis's campaign started posting memes with like the Black Sun and other like Nazi iconography. That's because a lot of these people who, you know, like you, were either millennials or Gen Zers who grew up on the internet. Some of them were full-blown far-right fascists, etc. They eventually, like anyone else, started to get into politics and wanted to enter politics and have been entering politics successfully for a lot of right-wing Republican campaigns. There's not like an official Nazi party of the United States, although right now the Republicans are pretty much taking that, award. But either way, there's not like an official one. So you join the Republican Party and then you try to groyperize it in the process. Now, this happens to be a far-right Nazi Canadian who was in the United States, who was trying to enter politics and influence American politics for a long time. And now when he saw the success that this Nazi party in Canada was having, he basically was trying to join them from the inside. And then the party had some problems with that, including the leader of the party, who was like, yeah, no, this guy's an actual Nazi. So here we have the situation. So the good news is they completely fell apart. And, this was sent to me a few hours ago about Othman McLuffy. One BC party members, excluding Dallas, for engaging with Nazis and Dominion Society guys. Dallas assistant Masha caught them red-handed and told them to back off and fire this guy doing all this. Fearing backlash, they fired her Jewish assistant without Dallas' permission and knowledge. So the party kicked Dallas out because she didn't tolerate Nazis and white supremacists in the party. Dallas is actually the hero here. You're absolutely right there. Now, there is no heroes. These are all far-right extremists. I just want to be clear about that. But this is the same problem that right now Ben Shapiro is experiencing. So is Ezra Levant of Rebel News. Both of them are right-wing conservative Jewish men, right? Ben Shapiro, Ezra Levant. Both of them, in both cases, have had to deal with the fact that their party and their advocacy and all the things that they've been working for, they want to have right-wing policies, but those right-wing policies oftentimes overlap, or even the figures overlap, with actual extreme fascists, neo-Nazis, and anti-Semites who hate all Jewish people. That's one of the problems right now Ben Shapiro's having with Nick Fuentes, and the fact that Nick Fuentes is being really normalized by people like Tucker Carlson and Piers Morgan and Destiny and Glenn Greenwald, for example. They're all bringing him on, sometimes to debate, but sometimes to basically find out where, we have some commonalities, right? In the case of Glenn Greenwald, it's like, hey, by the way, Nick Fuentes, obviously I'm not down with some of the stuff that you talk about, but I am interested in you criticizing Israel, for example, and that's why I'm going to talk to you. Same thing maybe with like a Tucker Carlson who wanted to talk to him about gay stuff and why there's so many gay people. Does porn make you gay? Let's bring on noted incel, virgin who's never had a relationship or even kissed a woman, Nick Fuentes, to talk about how porn makes you gay, which is also kind of ironic considering Nick Fuentes is pretty verifiably, I would say, super gay. So that's wild. But, it seems to be a topic that's really important to Tucker Carlson right now. So he brought him on, and this is a problem that's going to keep happening, by the way. There's a lot of criticism, obviously, people on the left have for the left pundits, media class, you name it. Leftists have their own fights, insular fighting that are going on constantly, but it's never to the level of the Erica Kirk versus Candace Owens stuff. And the reason why so much of this is happening, that people are just kind of getting a little confused, maybe I need to make a bigger video on this topic, is that so much of right-wing punditry for years now has been based in conspiracy theories, not based in reality. And as so much of it has grown very popular on the internet outside of legacy media still has some stuff that they have to worry about because of lawsuits. So they usually have editorial teams, lawyers, legal staff, stuff like that. And when it goes wrong, if they try to push things too far, you can see what happens with, say, the Dominion voting systems and Tucker Carlson and the Fox News lawsuit. They can eventually pay a very severe and financial price for just spewing conspiracy theory bile nonsense. But on the internet, a lot more people get a lot more leeway, right? And so some people have been sued. Tim Pool's been sued. Steven Crowder's been sued. Famously, no one has been sued more than Alex Jones, right, into absolute oblivion. But there's still people who are operating at a very high level, like Candace Owens, who are now putting out stuff that I think is just pretty demonstrably false. I don't think that the government of France killed Charlie Kirk. I don't think that Legionnaires killed Charlie Kirk. I don't think they did it in collaboration with Israel or the Mossad or stuff like that. I don't think that's based in reality. I don't think that Candace Owens is actually on the verge of being assassinated by France. I think she's openly being sued by France for a lot of money, and they'd rather collect that money than, say, kill her and get nothing. I think that it's just kind of ridiculous. But when the right wing has been so conditioned for so long by their pundit class to believe in the unbelievable and to believe the pundits before they actually look at the research, to look at the headline before doing any kind of, hey, let's read below what that headline says, to actually read articles, to have media literacy. Because it's like at an all-time low. Like the biggest example of this is that chart that the right loves showing, where it says that people, the further you go to the left on the ideological spectrum, right, the political spectrum, the further leftward you go, the more they happen to be in sync on a lot of different issues. And then the further rightward you go, the more that there's this enormous galaxy of different beliefs. And they like to think it's because they're more free, because they've got more free thought, because they're not giving into groupthink. They're not NPCs. They don't actually just believe whatever they're told. You know, we actually question everything, all right? That's why we believe in both flat earth and anti-vax and all that kind of stuff. And the truth is, what that chart is showing you is that there is a certain amount of reality that human beings, once you go into the liberal and then further into the left spectrum, will begin to accept as truth, because there are common things that we all know to be true. If you want to build on that, start at something like 2 + 2 = 4. All right, we all agree. Okay, we all agree. We're all on board. 2 + 2 = 4. All right, there are multiple states of matter. As you heat up, the actual atoms of objects, they will start to move faster. As they move faster, they can eventually separate. That can transform something like water into a gas, right? And then as it gets colder, they slow down and the atoms move less quickly, and then they start to solidify. That's how a gas can reach a solid, which can eventually reach a freezing state. So we build upon that. We build upon reality, right? The things that we can observe and then measure using the scientific method. And then as you do that, you grow and you understand and you have more knowledge about the entirety of both the human experience and the universe as we know it. And this is kind of been, personally for me, a guiding compass. It's always been something that I like to learn more and more as I go on, and accept that there's going to be strange realities of which it's maybe going to be weirder, just the way the actual universe works, than what I have in my own head. It would make more sense if things work this way, but no, we have strange things like quantum realities and quantum foam. And as you go on, none of this in any way scares me. It's actually fascinating. I like learning about theoretical dark matter. I like learning about all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, until we can actually have a conclusive way to measure and replicate evidence, then we know some things to be true and some things not to be true. On the right, it's FUBAR. It's absolute chaos. You've got so many people who are in so many different political ideologies who believe so many different things now. And that's why they're all fighting each other. And that's why one person like Candace Owens can come along and be like, I don't believe the official story of the Charlie Kirk assassination, and neither should you. And you don't have to say anything. You could just put that out there, and most people will be like, there's a lot of things that are weird about this. I agree. I agree, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would there just randomly be one young shooter who managed to pull that shot off from 200 yards away, disassemble the gun with all the adrenaline running through their body, pack it into the backpack, be able to run away, and then somehow they were just having a conversation on Discord with a bunch of other people, and they were admitting to the shooting? That doesn't make a lot of sense. And then they told their priest, who then was like, I'm going to reveal this to the State Department, and then they caught him. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. There's so many questions and unanswered questions that they're not telling us the full official story. They're trying to tell us that this person is like a trans furry when really they came from like a Mormon Christian family of right-wingers and registered MAGA Republicans. There's preachers, there's cops. It doesn't make any sense either. They were really pro-gun but also pro-LGBTQ. That doesn't make sense either. Isn't it weird? Haven't you asked the question, why is it that Charlie Kirk, was starting to become critical of Israel? He wasn't. He was very publicly in favor of Israel. He was actually very racist towards Palestinians and hated Muslims, and that's who he was. No. I don't know if you know this, behind the scenes, Charlie Kirk was actually starting to do some DMs and question the official narrative. So that's kind of sus, isn't it? Isn't it weird that Bill Ackman was supposed to have a meeting with him because his messaging had to get on point, but that meeting was happening prior to his assassination? Also strange that Charlie Kirk felt that he was going to be assassinated. I have evidence. I won't show it to you, but it is weird that that's the thing, right? All this kind of stuff that she's been putting out there. The right have been so positioned now to believe in conspiracy theories and to run with them and to question the official narrative. Do your research, get on there, get into the forums, start studying that stuff. That's why you see that chart where it's just like the level of beliefs are like that on the right. And then the further you go to the left, it starts to get like that, because this is a lot of people believing reality for what it is on the other side. I'm not trying to say I'm more intelligent than you. I have a higher IQ. I know more things. You dumb, me smart. Nothing like that. More that there is just an acceptability for people to believe in a range of things which is demonstrably false. You have flat earthers, you have anti-vaxxers who are palling around with full-blown conspiracy theorists who believe in the anti-Semitic conspiracies, satanic conspiracy theories, Wayfair cabinets, all of that. Those are all people who consider themselves to be on the same team. Like, they might all vote for Trump, but behind the scenes, a lot of them hate each other because a lot of them believe in completely incompatible worldviews, right? One person on one end of the right wing might believe in a Jewish conspiracy that Jewish people control not only all of the media internationally, but control all of the politics internationally, and also have great financial control over the entire world. So the world is actually fundamentally controlled by Jewish people. Those same people are hanging out with someone who is a huge fan of Alex Jones and watches Alex Jones every single day, and then they have to butt heads. And then one of them will be like, well, it does really suck, right, that the New World Order in conjunction with the elites are trying to control us, and then that's invested in the military industrial complex. And the other one will be like, oh, those are all Jewish people. And it's like, well, no, they're not all Jewish people. Some of them are just decidedly not. It doesn't make any sense for you to think that they're all Jewish people. What are you talking about? No, they're all Jewish people. Jewish people control all of the finances, all of the money, all of the media. That's just the way the world works. I know this to be true. Well, no, I know that's not true, because a lot of the people in these positions of powers, I mean, come on, Elon Musk is the world's richest man. He's not Jewish. You have to understand why this conspiracy doesn't make sense. Oh, you're one of them. I didn't know that. Yeah, that sucks. So, yeah, unfortunately, you are part of the demonic satanic cabal that needs to be destroyed. So I'll vote for Trump, as will you, but both of us hate each other, and we're not on the same page. And then along comes third guy, who's like, the world is flat. And both of them are like, that guy's stupid. The world's not flat. I know that's not a thing. Why is it not flat again? Ooh, that's weird. Yeah, I guess it does feel flat when you walk on it anyway. It does look like it's just going in a straight line. That's odd. Yeah. But he also believes in anti-vax, and we believe in anti-vax, right? Kinda. I believe anti-vax, but not in the same way you believe anti-vax. I believe anti-vax in that they're trying to put like controlling brain chips inside all of us for world domination. I believe some of that, but I also believe that it gives you magnetic powers, and that it's actually being broadcast into our bodies and changing our DNA through 5G cell phone towers. Do you believe that one? No. But I think it's bad. I think it's bad too. Okay, we can agree on that. Vaccine bad. There you go. This is the reason why all this is happening so much on the right, and they have no way of containing this. Is the other thing. To them, their bottom line of continuing to just get likes and clicks and views and all that is more important than the fact that this has gone so out of control that they can't rein this back in. There's no way now. Like, for the people being like, we need to stop Candace Owens, and we need to stop her from spreading all these vile conspiracy theories. Erica Kirk herself has personally told Candace Owens to stop. She used that word exactly. It's like, what do you have to say to her? stop. And then it's like, whoa, damn. I mean, it's pretty clear. She was very direct. She was quite mad, had angry look on her face, and then said stop. So I mean, what are you gonna do, right? Candace Owens is definitely gonna stop. She's definitely gonna stop. And I love how the next day Candace Owens just openly mocked her. Whoa!
To our patrons for making this show possible. We could not fund it without you. And if you want to join, please check out patreon.com/theserfs to unlock bonus episodes, uncensored content, and all the good stuff. Thanks to Anna Loves Riley, Addercap, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hegbard Salim, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Tigwick, and Words Greenwood.